Hey there, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I am your host, Lance Brock, back again for December 7th, 2022. It is Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It is time to recap an episode of AEW Dynamite right here on 360 Wrestling Fanatic. The go-home show before Ring of Honor Final Battle this Saturday, which will have a special start time of 4 p.m. Eastern, which works out pretty good because Saturday night is NXT Deadline. So, works out good for wrestling fans this Saturday. And let's get into this week's episode of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Commentators, once again, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz. And we start things off strong this week with the AEW Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. And this year, another good Battle Royal, I thought. And it is won by Absolute Ricky Starks. And then after the Battle Royal, we are joined by the AEW World Champion himself, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who comes in and cuts a pretty good heel promo on Ricky Starks and uses one of the Rock's insults on him and calls him a dollar store Dwayne. But Ricky Starks has a pretty good babyface comeback here. Good promo, I thought, from Ricky Starks. They will face off for the AEW World Championship next Wednesday night on a special episode of Dynamite. Winter is coming. I think this will be a very good match, but a little too soon to take the World Championship off MJF just yet, and a little too soon to put it on Ricky Starks. But I could definitely see Absolute Ricky Starks being a future AEW World Champion. Definitely see him being a big star in the future, but not just yet. And the AEW TNT Championship is on the line. Samoa Joe and Darby Allin, and these two have a really good match here. But it is Samoa Joe defeating Allin, retaining the TNT Championship. And then after the match, looks like Samoa Joe is going to attack Darby Allin once again. But then it is Wardlow coming in and making the save for Darby Allin. Jade Cargill and the Baddies defeated Sky Blue, Madison Rayne, and former baddie Kiera Hogan. And we see the Blackpool Combat Club, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. And Tony Schiavone says he has a video that he recorded with William Regal a couple of weeks ago, and he explains why he did what he did at Full Gear. pretty much saying that the Blackpool Combat Club needs to be on their own. He wanted to leave them on their own, but he knew they wouldn't let him leave. And of course, that was before MJF took William Regal out last week on Dynamite. And the main event of the evening for the AEW World Championship, the Acclaimed versus FTR. The Acclaimed over here in Austin, Texas. And these two have a great tag team match. Great main event on Dynamite this week. It is the Acclaimed retaining the AEW World Tag Team Championships in this fantastic tag team match. So that was tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. I definitely recommend it if you missed it. Had some good matches. Ricky Starks winning the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. And next week is the World Championship match at Winter is Coming. Ricky Starks versus MJF, which I'm sure will be a very good match between those two young wrestlers. And once again, the main event, very good for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Acclaimed and FTR. That is definitely a match worth checking out if you were not able to see it tonight. And real quick, gonna want to talk about the card for this Saturday's Ring of Honor Final Battle pay-per-view, which will be available on Bleacher Report here in the United States and Fight TV internationally. Also, from your cable and satellite provider. Ring of Honor Final Battle this Saturday, 4 p.m. A special start time. Gotta remember that. In the main event for the Ring of Honor World Championship, Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castagnoli. And if Jericho wins this one, Castagnoli will have to join the Jericho Appreciation Society and become a sports entertainer. This one, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on this one. I kind of could see it going either way, to be honest. They could do that angle where Claudio loses and then has to join the JAS and has to reluctantly be a member. Or, who knows, they could have Claudio be the hero for Ring of Honor and take the ROH World Championship back from Chris Jericho. But one thing's for sure, though, I'm sure this will be a great main event. And the ROH Pure Championship will be on the line. Daniel Garcia defending against Wheeler Yuta in a Pure Wrestling Rules match. The ROH Women's Championship is on the line. Mercedes Martinez versus Athena. Samoa Joe will be defending the Ring of Honor World Television Championship against Juice Robinson. Samoa Joe, now known as the King of Television, since he is the Ring of Honor Television Champion and the AEW TNT Champion. I'm sure that'll be another very good match to see. Swerve in Our Glory. Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee will be taking on Shane Taylor and JD Griffey. And also, as we found out on Dynamite tonight, but I forgot to mention this unfortunately in the recap, we found out at the end of Dynamite, as announced by the Gun Club, or the Ass Boys, whichever you want to call them, there was a challenge to FTR for Final Battle this Saturday from none other than them boys, the Briscoes, in a double dog collar match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, and that will take place this Saturday night. Ring of Honor Final Battle. Hope to have an episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic recapping that pay-per-view. Also, as I mentioned a little earlier, NXT Deadline this Saturday night on Peacock here in the United States and WWE Network everywhere else. Also, to talk about a little bit of news, William Regal has officially left AEW, and he will be returning to WWE soon. But what I've seen is that due to his WWE contract, that he will not be on WWE television right away. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised to, if Triple H has him working behind the scenes in some part. And that's it for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in tonight. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, 360 Wrestling Podcasts at gmail.com is the email. And thank you for listening to right here on Spreaker. Hopefully you're listening to it on Spreaker. But if you're listening to anywhere else, thank you as well. Any podcatching apps or YouTube, wherever you're listening to, thank you. And as soon as I end this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, I am about to actually record an episode for the first time in quite a while of 360 Fanatic Unleashed. So that should be available very shortly after this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic becomes available. So stay tuned for that. Once again, thank you for listening to 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Remember, hope to have more episodes up soon. And this weekend, hope to have a recap of Ring of Honor Final Battle. But until then, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.